By the time an actor reaches a certain age in Hollywood, their image has usually hardened into something immovable. The roles blur together. The anecdotes get polished. The public narrative becomes safer than the truth ever was. Legends are preserved not by honesty, but by omission. Diane Lane has long existed inside that kind of myth-making. From her early breakout roles to her later, more complex performances, she has carried a reputation for intensity, controlled, elegant, quietly dangerous. Yet for decades, the industry spoke around her rather than about her, trading glances and half-sentences, careful never to say too much out loud. Hollywood runs on that restraint. Secrets are its currency, and yet there has always been another story running beneath the official one, a private history shaped by proximity, chemistry, and the strange intimacy that forms when people create illusions for a living. In this version of events, Lane's life is less a fairy tale and more a map of intersecting paths, moments where ambition, attraction, and timing collided. The first name most often whispered is Richard Gere. Their early collaboration placed two rising forces in close orbit at a moment when youth and confidence tend to blur boundaries. Gere's public image, controlled, romantic, contained, contrasted sharply with the intensity colleagues described behind the scenes. Whatever passed between them has long been framed as emblematic of that era. Private, risky, and ultimately folded back into silence. Mickey Rourke represents something else entirely in Hollywood folklore. Where others cultivated polish, he carried chaos openly. Stories involving him are never gentle. They are described as consuming, overwhelming, impossible to compartmentalize. In narratives where Lane and Rourke cross paths, the emphasis is never on longevity, only on impact, the kind of encounter that burns briefly and leaves permanent marks. Christopher Walken's name enters these stories with a different energy, less explosive, more cerebral. His reputation has always rested on precision and control, and the accounts that circulate mirror that quality. This is not the stuff of tabloid scandal, but of psychological gravity. Two people drawn together by intensity rather than impulse, by curiosity as much as attraction. Then there is Sean Penn, often described as uncompromising both professionally and personally. In Hollywood memory, Penn is less a romantic figure than a force, direct, demanding, impossible to ignore. Stories involving him rarely linger. They strike, disrupt, and move on, leaving behind the sense that something unfiltered briefly broke through an otherwise managed world. Kevin Costner's inclusion in such narratives is usually framed as the most ironic. His public image, built on dependability and virtue, contrasts sharply with the suggestion of a hidden private life. In Hollywood storytelling, that contrast is irresistible. Whether true or exaggerated, the tale serves as a reminder of how carefully constructed personas can obscure complexity rather than eliminate it. Robert De Niro appears not as a scandal, but as an intellectual presence. Accounts involving him emphasize conversation, observation, and emotional acuity. The idea that seduction can occur long before anything tangible does. In these versions, intimacy is less about drama and more about recognition. And finally, Nicolas Cage, unpredictable, uncontainable, impossible to reduce to a single narrative. Stories involving him resist structure entirely. They exist as fragments, impressions, moments that defy explanation, much like his career itself. Taken together, these accounts say less about individual encounters and more about Hollywood's enduring tension between image and reality. Whether rumor, truth, or some blurred combination of both, they reveal an industry that depends on mystery as much as performance. At 60, Diane Lane stands not as a character in these stories, but as their center of gravity, a reminder that behind every legend is a human life lived mostly out of frame, where meaning is rarely neat and secrets are never simple.